everyone. Welcome. We are so excited to have you join our Where Ace Takes You event tonight. This is the second in our spring series, and it will have a specific focus on education opportunities. So we have a few ACE graduates who are going to share their paths to ACE as well as parts of their experience. And we also have a current ACE intern who will be joining us and sharing a bit about her experience the past year and kind of her decision to apply to ACE. So we're really excited for you to hear their perspectives. And we also want to give you an opportunity later on to engage with our panel too. So once we get there, Catherine will share some details on the best way to share your questions with our panelists. The other thing I'll mention, it might be helpful to keep your screen in speaker view just so you can see everyone as they're sharing some of those perspectives. So with that, I will first just invite our panelists to introduce themselves. For our graduates, maybe just share a bit about where you went to college, where you served in ACE, maybe a bit about what you're doing now. And Colleen, if you want to just share a little bit about kind of what you're studying at Notre Dame and a little bit about maybe anything else that you've been involved with on campus. So Colin, do you want to start? And then maybe we'll go to Elizabeth, Corey, and Colleen.
Yeah, absolutely. So nice to be here with you guys today. My name is Colin Riley. So I was in ACE 25. I'm from Chicago originally, and I was an ND 2018 grad. So I studied economics and math at Notre Dame. And I was placed in New Orleans. So I taught 2 years. I taught high school math for 2 years at Academy of Our Lady down in New Orleans. And now I'm back up at my old high school, actually in Chicago, teaching high school math as well. So it's great to be here with you guys. I'm really excited.
Great, thanks, Colin. Hi, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Eby. I am originally from New Hampshire. I went to Villanova University. I graduated in 2018, and I studied English there. And then after I graduated, I was a member, like Colin, like Corey, a member of ACE 25. I was placed in Los Angeles in the South Central community, and I taught middle school math. Then I graduated from the ACE program this summer, and now I'm back in New Hampshire teaching middle school math again at a K-8 school on the Seacoast. And actually my principal is an ACE grad, and he was also placed in Los Angeles.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Corey Kumanitz. I'm originally from South Bend, Indiana. I went to the University of Dayton for undergrad, where I studied environmental biology and human rights. From there, in ACE 25 with Colin and Elizabeth, I was placed in New York City. So I lived and taught in East Harlem for 2 years. I taught middle school math, so the math represent. I'm glad to see us out here. And so I'm still at my school, my ACE placement school in East Harlem, and I love it. This is my 3rd year, and it's absolutely great.
Hi, my name is Colleen O'Leary. I'm from Brighton, Michigan, and I'm a senior at Notre Dame. I'm an intern this year, which is really cool, and I will be a part of ACE 28. I'm also a math major with an education minor. I live in Breen Phillips Hall. I'm also an RA, which is really awesome. And one of the clubs that I've been involved with most is Compass. I absolutely love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much again for sharing a bit about yourselves. And to start our conversation, I really want to focus on your path to ACE. So just learning a little bit more about why you ultimately accepted this invitation to serve as an ACE teacher. And I want you to just reflect on experiences or communities or leadership roles that you took on. And some of these could be just more specific to education. Some can be, other things that come to mind. But how did those experiences impact your decision to pursue ACE? So we can hop around. We could follow the same order. Colin, maybe do you want to start again, and then whoever wants to jump in from there?
For sure. Yeah, so I was thinking about this question, and I realized that there were so many more different roles and experiences that contributed to me wanting to do ACE than I had really realized before. But I'll just kind of touch on some of the bigger ones. So one of the first ones that kind of keyed me into the idea of mentorship and how much I enjoyed that was tutoring at the Robinson Community Learning Center. So I know a lot of current ACERs and past ACERs have done that, and just a lot of Notre Dame students in general. But I think that was the first experience that I had of just long-term working with the same student. Like I had tutored before, I had worked with kids before, but just having just one student that my focus was on and seeing him every week throughout the entire year, and just kind of having that experience of watching him grow and hearing what he was passionate about while at the same time helping him with his academics was so cool. So that kind of first turned me on to just the mentorship of teaching. And then I actually, once I started thinking more about teaching, I decided to work as a teaching assistant over the summer at a summer school math course kind of in the Chicago area. So that kind of, I think, opened me up to the more behind the scenes work that teachers do, so that my co-teachers kind of introduced me to just a lot of the intellectual challenge of how do you get students to critically think, and how do you take on a role of the teacher as kind of a facilitator of learning and of growth, rather than just like throwing information at kids. So I thought that challenge was really intriguing and interesting, and I think there was just more to that than I had ever realized. And that experience really showed me that side of things. And then the third most important one, probably the most important one for me, was Camp Kesem. So I was a counselor for Camp Kesem Notre Dame for all my entire time at Notre Dame. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically just kind of an organization that has chapters all across the country at different colleges. And throughout the year, we fundraise and we prepare for camp, which is in the summer, and it's for the children of cancer patients or those who have been affected by cancer or those who have passed away from cancer. So that organization has just had such an impact on my life that I never really realized and thought it would, just by the people that I was surrounding myself with. So I think I just really saw the impact of having a core group of people that push you to want to be the best person you can, to be a better role model, to be a better person for those around you. And I think I just realized through that experience how important it was not only to seek out, a post-college role that, I thought I would enjoy and would help me grow professionally, but one that would help me be surrounded by the kind of people that I wanted to become. And after going to like so many of these exact same types of events, and I went to them long after I knew I wanted to do ACE just because I loved them so much, I always walked away so energized and so ready to go, just from the generosity and the excitement and the fun and the energy that came away from some of these people who were in ACE and who had done ACE. And I knew that those were the kinds of people that I wanted to surround myself with and immerse myself in over the next 2 years to just become the person that I wanted to be. So I think those were the main experiences that drove me to ACE.
I'll keep the order and I'll jump in here. So I will cite two experiences that really led me to ACE. The first and I think most formative experience was my time teaching in a program called Breakthrough. So Breakthrough is a college-bound program for motivated middle school students from under-resourced communities. It's an academic summer program. And I was a teaching fellow through that program the summer after my freshman year, and then I returned again the summer after my sophomore year. And that program had me in a small classroom teaching math and teaching writing to groups of middle school students who were really eager to learn. And so that was my first taste of being in a classroom, of lesson planning, of working with students, and I loved it. And so actually after my first summer teaching with Breakthrough, I switched majors. I got involved in a lot of tutoring and teaching and mentoring opportunities on campus, and decided that I wanted that education and the desire to teach was really where my heart was calling me. So I think that experience first and foremost. And then secondly, as a sophomore, I participated in what was called the Sophomore Service Learning Community, which was a service-themed dorm at Villanova. So I lived in a dorm where everyone once a week did some sort of service effort in the greater Philadelphia area, and then we would come together to reflect on the service we were doing. And so as part of my service site, I tutored in a school. So again, that school setting reinforced my desire to teach. But then also I really enjoyed and was exposed, I guess, to the power of living in a community united around the desire to serve others. and living in a community where others were willing to engage and reflect on the work that we were doing. So that led me at the end of my time at Villanova with a desire to get into the classroom. And so I came across the ACE program, and the teaching pillar of ACE was first and foremost what drew me to the program. But then also what set ACE apart from other opportunities in education that I was considering at the time was the faith-based community piece. And I knew that trying to teach was going to be hard. And so the opportunity to start teaching with a cohort of others who were doing similar work and could navigate the challenges of first and second year teaching with me, that was really appealing to me. And so those two experiences, I would say, were the most formative and most powerful in terms of leading me to say yes to ACE.
I'll keep the order going, just so that we have some sort of system, I guess. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different things I could talk about, and I'll just talk about two of them of my experiences at the University of Dayton. And so it's very similar to Elizabeth and to Colin. I was also involved with a few different things with tutoring or like being near a classroom, being near students. And so one of those was just going to a local public school like twice a week just to work with kids on reading, basic math. So just engaging with students that way. And then also I was involved with a really, really cool organization in Dayton called Victory Project, which is like an after school program for boys ages like, it's like sixth grade to I think like all the way through high school. And I was partnered with one student for I think almost a year. And it was really just really, really, really cool experience to kind of watch him grow and to work with him and encourage him along the way. And I was helping him with math specifically. So maybe that was a little bit of foreshadowing going on with being a math teacher. But I just remember how cool that was to like see him grow in confidence. And I was like, wow, that's like that, you know, that's not nothing. And I feel like I wouldn't be the worst person to be in a classroom helping that kid out every single day, or just like being there for him as a human being, because that's what we both are. So I would say that's one really formative experience, is just to engage with an authentic relationship with someone and then also like help them learn some things, which is pretty cool. Another thing, and it's kind of a little bit with what like Elizabeth had touched on with the community piece. I was so lucky to do an opportunity where I had a year-long research project where my summer was spent in sub-Saharan Africa in Malawi, and I was able to live with the community there and really immerse myself in a kind of a different way of life. And so obviously ACE is a little, there's elements of that that are kind of the same, where you're kind of immersing yourself into a community where you might not have otherwise been, and interacting with people you might not have otherwise interacted with. And so I really, really liked that. Just on a personal level, I feel like I learned so many things. I grew so much as a human being. And then likewise, I think it was a mutual relationship where people were learning a little bit from me as well. So I really liked those two pieces of the ACE program, and I can speak more about it, but I'll stop talking for right now.
And yeah, so my journey to ACE actually started my freshman year. I was originally an architecture major, but I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I wasn't happy with what my future had in store for me. There wasn't a lot of like personal interactions that I could see with being an architecture major. And I just realized that throughout my life there had been a lot of opportunities of these personal interactions. And just realizing that I wanted to work with kids. I'd been a tennis coach for the past 3 or 4 summers, and you know, just working with kids from age like 5 to 18, you realize that there's such a joy with that. And that was something that really drew me to something more of working with kids, and being able to find that joy in daily life. And then also, I've been a tutor throughout high school. I did it here before COVID times. I would tutor at St. Adalbert's, and you know, I found that similar joy that just in those like daily interactions of working with these kids, and you know, being able to find that aha moment of when somebody finally gets what they're working on. And yeah, it's just been reaffirming in everything that I've worked on. And I mentioned earlier that I was a part of Compass. And again, it was that relational working that really drew me to something more and pursuing that as a career. And I think it was my sophomore year when they had a dorm event in BP, and it was one of my previous RAs, and she was just giving a presentation about what ACE was, and it was something I had heard before. I feel like it's pretty well known on campus, and I had had two previous teachers who had done the program, and it was just something that I wanted to learn more and more about, and it just got me so excited, and it was finally something that for me personally, I felt like, yes, this is what I want to do with my life. And yeah, and since then, just the community of ACE, everybody who works in that building is absolutely incredible and always willing to help you. And yeah, just wants to get to know you. So I've been really excited about it, and I'm excited to see where it leads to.
Thank you all for sharing a lot of those experiences, and it's kind of cool to hear because you all have done so many different things, but it is that common theme of feeling an excitement about that work with young people and also feeling a draw to that community. And obviously for our graduates, you live that out really fully for the 2 years that you're in ACE. So I think for each of you, I'd be curious to hear how you think some of those experiences that you had in college continued to impact and inform the work that you did, with your students, or the way in which you lived in intentional community. And then for Colleen, I know, you haven't lived this out just yet, but what are you kind of hoping for when you think of life in the classroom starting in a couple of months and, really, again, living in that intentional way with other teachers? So maybe we'll start on the graduate end and then we'll work our way to Colleen. So I don't want to put you on the spot again, Colin. So if anyone else wants to jump in first.
I'm happy to start if you want me to. um, so I think the one kind of theme I saw in those experiences that kind of stayed with me and definitely grew a lot throughout ACE and still is with me today is the idea of just intentionality in everything I do. And it was something that I kind of started, like I said, in college, just with being a part of communities I admired so much and being a mentor. And they helped me realize the importance of intentionality across everything I do and everything I convey to other people. But I think I had this weird expectation coming into ACE that just because I really cared about being a good community member and a good role model and a good teacher, that things would just fall into place. And that's definitely a good start and a really good foundation, but it's definitely not the case that that's all you need. It really is about being intentional and planning out how you're going to be that good role model and how you're going to be that good community member, because you're going to have your hands full from day one, and things are going to fall to the wayside really, really quickly because of how busy you'll be in ACE if you aren't intentional about these types of things. So, how are you going to show your community members that you truly care about them and that you're there for them? When are you going to spend time with them? When are you going to take some time to just stop and enjoy the little moments today and thank God for those and for the people that you got to spend them with? When are you going to, weave into your lessons, some little tidbits that just show your students that you care? And when are you going to take some time to go to your students' basketball game and just show up for them and show them that you're really, you care about their development outside of school and inside of school? And it's just really important to take stock of those little things and to plan for them. And that goes for your actual teaching, like the day to day and the instructional planning, but also just your daily life as a community member, as a school member, and as a mentor and a role model. So that's something that I still try to keep with me today, especially during COVID times. It's so important because right now only half of my students are in the building every day. So building classroom community is so important, and it doesn't really happen unless you're intentional about it and you build in time into your lessons, because you don't have as many of those day-to-day moments where you just see kids in the hallways. So it's something that I've definitely carried with me and I'm still working on growing it.
Great. So I'll take it away next. I think what I was reflecting on was a lot of Colin hit on a lot of the things I was going to share as well. But I think that as a freshman at Villanova, I weekly would tutor and work with students either in small groups or one-on-one in an elementary school outside of campus. And then I continued that work as a sophomore through the service learning community that I mentioned earlier. But when I think back on those experiences, I think I taught the students very little, but I think that what made the experience powerful for me and hopefully a little bit memorable for the students that I worked with was the relationship aspect. Um, so I found that it was important to like listen to the students and take the time, kind of like Colin was saying, before getting into content to ask them about their day or to ask them about their interests. Um, and I think that's something that I tried to take with me into ACE. And so, on the days where I felt like lessons weren't going as planned or students weren't grasping the math concepts I was trying to teach them, it was helpful to kind of take a step back and think of kind of the bigger picture of, um, you know, what makes teaching important and all of that. And it's the relationship piece. So I think that was kind of a takeaway from my time tutoring and working one-on-one with students, or in small groups with students, that I then tried to carry over into the larger classroom setting, was that the importance of building relationships, the importance of establishing trust, the importance of showing that you're interested in your students as not just learners, but also as people.
So I have a lot of different thoughts. Bridget, can you repeat the exact question so I don't just go off on a tangent?
Of course. And honestly, take it in whatever direction you like.
Okay.
But just thinking about some of the experiences that you mentioned, how did they help to prepare you for life in the classroom or even life in community?
Yeah, so I think I did a really good job, of, which sounds super pretentious, and I promise I'm not trying to be, of just like getting outside of my comfort zone when I was in undergrad. So I had referenced like the two things that I had done earlier, but I think also just like academically, I was trying to take classes that I knew would challenge myself and talk to people that I wouldn't normally talk to, and so um, with all of these things where you're getting out of your comfort zone so often, I think that was right there, like itself, just a very, very good preparation for ACE in my own specific placement. So I had never been to like New York City until I moved here. That's the summer after ACE summer, which is kind of crazy. And like got off the bus in the middle of Harlem and on like a Saturday afternoon. It was just like, all right, like here we go, like let's do this. So I think just like being so comfortable with being open to new experience and really getting out there and um, like really like getting hands on and not being afraid to make mistakes and listening to people and growing with other people. I think I did a fair amount of that in undergrad, and so I think that's what really set me up um, with for ACE teaching fellows.
Yeah. And then, so something that I'm really hopeful for, yeah, is just the support that a lot of the other people have mentioned, but not only from your community members, but just from the teachers back at Notre Dame who work with you. That's something that I've heard has been done so amazingly. And yeah, I'm just really excited for those relationships. But then, yeah, as Colin mentioned too, just being able to fully embrace that community, and knowing that I'll have an impact not just as a math teacher, or whatever I end up teaching, but just being able to be there for my students, just as a mentor, but also a friend. I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, also just being able to hopefully continue my passions now, maybe leading a retreat or being a tennis coach. Those things really excite me too.
I have one final question for our four panelists, and that is, what advice would you give to a student who's currently considering a path to ACE?
I can start. So I'll leave you with two pieces of advice. I think the first is to talk to ACERs, former ACERs, and to talk to people who work for the ACE program. I think that ACE is really hard to, the ACE experience is really hard to capture on paper. And so talking to others who have been through the program kind of helps to give you a better sense of what you might be getting yourself into should you decide to say yes to ACE. And then also gives you a sense of the types of people that you would get to work with and surround yourself with for 2 years. So that's number one. And then I think number two, I would say that I have found, and others will, I think, agree that after ACE, you can do anything. So ACE can be a really great 2-year start to a lifelong career in education. Um, excuse me, but I also have fellow members of my cohort who have gone on to med school or are now in business. And so I think when you're discerning what to do after college, it can kind of be daunting, because I know I at least was worried that I would choose a next step that would like lock me into one path forever. But really, ACE opens up a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I would kind of echo those 2 points. Maybe don't think, definitely include what kind of, professional you want to be in, in your future, but think more so about what kind of person you want to be. You can always change roles, you can always do something different in the future, but what kind of person do you want to be, and seek out those types of people, find those people, and find a role where you're going to be surrounded by those people. I was kind of touching on this earlier, but you're going to become most like the people you surround yourself with. So find those people that really inspire you to be better and to kind of push you to grow, and find a way to, to spend time with those people and to be in a role where you're going to be surrounded by them. And I think Elizabeth touched on this too, but make sure that you also just reach out to current acers and past acers, just to talk about the day-to-day responsibilities of an ACE teacher, because it's a lot of fun. It's a really cool experience. You're going to learn so much, but it's also definitely a challenge. And you want to make sure that the day-to-day experiences are going to be life-giving for you, and then it's going to be something you're going to really enjoy and learn a lot from.
Yeah, I think Colin and Elizabeth 100% are spot on. Definitely talk to as many people as you can. And I would also just say, like, it is a tough experience. Like, there's going to be some really tough days, but that doesn't mean you should shy away from it if you're super, super, interested, and it seems like you really want to do, and that, that is something hard to commit to and really invest your time and your heart into. So it is tough, but I think it is, like, you just get better at everything. I think, like, I don't know, that's like the best way I can kind of explain it, but
Yeah, and I also agree with all of that. And yeah, one thing I would challenge you guys all to do is just find that thing that brings you joy. That's just been really impactful for me in knowing that like ACE is definitely what I want to do. And yeah, definitely talk to people who have been through ACE, but also your friends, your family, people who know you best. They're going to be able to help see that in you, what you're happiest about and what you're most excited about.
Perfect. Well, that's a great note to end on. Really, hopefully everyone can take away and think about something that brings them joy, and maybe how it's connected to this path to ACE. So if you have your emojis readily available, definitely throw up some confetti or clapping or a heart for our amazing panelists. Just one, thank you all so much for joining and sharing your insights and experiences. And to the students joining, thank you so much for being here. We hope it was helpful as you continue to think about ACE and discern your own path. We will have another event next week on Wednesday, and it will have a specific focus on athletics and coaching. So if that's something that you're interested in, please feel free to join us or check the recording on the event page afterwards. But thank you all so much again for being here tonight, and we hope to see you at a future event. So take care.